Hey friend, I have a message for you today as somebody who has willingly faced the darker, more difficult parts of yourself and your experience in life and has come out with an absolute diamond of wisdom and self empowerment. Guiding our reading today, we have Odin. The sage. All right, the sage is very much channeling this Odin energy right now. He's blind in one eye, much like Odin is missing the one eye that he sacrificed in order to gain the knowledge of the runes. So you have maybe had some experiences of loss or some sort of sacrifices that you've had to make or that you've been through in life that ultimately did lead you to gaining some sort of a new wisdom, some sort of an empowerment. All right, starting out, I have the Two of Cups, okay? The Two of Cups is this alchemy energy. You have the caduceus, and the lion energy here, the feminine and the masculine. When you are bringing together your beautiful and your painful experiences, when you realize that both these things add value to your life in some sort of sense, that you are learning, that you are growing, there's a synergy that develops between them, right? We have the serpentine energy of the caduceus and that lion energy, but the wings, the opening, the empowerment, the transformation, the new thing that comes out of the blending of the two. Right now, you are in a moment of rest. You're in this Four of Swords, the rest between battles or the rest between adventures. Not necessarily saying that you're going from one difficulty to another. It's just that you are going from one stage of your life into another. You've taken time right now to step back, to rest, to really kind of integrate your experiences, your understanding, and kind of just rejuvenate yourself so that you're ready for this next stage in your life. We have the King of Wands. You're in this masculine kind of a manifesting type of an energy right now, right? Yes, you are in this rest, more the feminine, receptive type of an energy, but you also have the proactive, productive type of a manifestation energy, right? The King of Wands is that mature Knight of Wands, where instead of your energies just going here, there, and everywhere, you are able to pick what it is that you want to create, what you want to experience, and put your passions and energies into that. And this is where we're starting to see a little bit of that duality, right? The rest and the action. And the king here, if you notice, he's got his hand open, this palm, this expectation. He has both, his more active masculine principle and his more receptive feminine principle in, use, in harmony within himself. So you do have this balance that is forming because you understand that all the experiences that you've had, whether they're joyful or painful, have contributed to your growth. They have taught you things. They have deepened your character, really kind of help you develop into the kind of person you're becoming today. We have the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles is very much that learner, that fresh enjoyment of life. They're not in a hurry, right? The Page of Pentacles isn't going like, oh man, I'm going to be the king or the queen one day. Like they could be, but they're enjoying the moment. Their feet are right here firmly planted on the grass. You think of the idea of like touching grass, being here in the moment. You are in this moment enjoying your experience, learning the things that you need to learn, this little book that they have on their side, and you have something new, something beautiful, and you're here and you're just kind of like, yes, this is good. This is what I want for myself. Okay. Here's the thing though, while you do have this fresh page energy, we also do have this Nine of Wands. I think of the Nine of Wands, at least in this case, as the kind of like what I would call the black belt card, right? Imagine you are somebody who's learned karate and you've gone through the stages, you got your black belt. there's a certain kind of peaceful confidence that comes in knowing that you can handle any situation that comes up. There's no need to be boastful. There's no need to like kind of like strut around showing your power or whatever. You know what you're capable of. You know that you have the ability to handle yourself, and combining that, with this learner kind of energy, this learner experience, right? You have the newness and the mastery. You get this synergy that comes in, this lover's energy. Sorry, I have to cover that up for YouTube because YouTube has body issues. All right, you have this lover's energy, the synergy between the two of them, your heart and your mind connection, the positive and the negative. Like I said, you have this alchemy, this synergy. Okay, you realize that like the painful experiences that you've experienced in your life, approaching them with more pain hasn't helped you, right? Like you have this suffering, so like you get this like, oh, I want to create more suffering. And you don't do that anymore. You've gotten to a point where you realize that the real solution is peace. The real solution is strength, this gentleness, the kindness that you can show to yourself, and how you approach life that makes it where, you can tame the power, the experiences, that masculine energy through the gentleness, right? That aggressiveness, that passion, that drive, whatever it is, you connect it more effectively with that peaceful type of an energy. Now, you still have your capacity as this King of Swords, right? You still have your discernment. You still have the ability to, to face whatever the challenge is, to be able to be logical, to be able to, to just, like, when you gotta put on the war mask, so to speak, because he is the king who's at war, then you can do that. That yet again, there's that balance, that peace, that gentleness that allows you to tame this power so that way it doesn't come into a destructive kind of form. This is where your own energy awakens. This is where your own self-empowerment comes in, the Ace of Wands, right? We see this, DNA strand within the wand, the fiery energy that's been ignited. Your power, your ability to create the reality you want comes actually from the difficulties. And, maybe at first that can be a little hard to hear, if we're in the moment, if we're in the struggle, if we're in the pain. But ultimately, your new approach toward this is actually what ends up giving you, some sort of empowerment. This is the rebirth of judgment, right? This energy, this experience that you've been through has been for the purpose of you awakening to yourself, awakening to who you really are, right? Like if you went through life without struggles, if you went through your day-to-day existence without any kind of resistance, without any kind of friction, you would be more or less unconscious about what are your needs, right? If all your needs are met, you're not thinking about it. Well, this rebirth, this energy is about bringing you into a conscious relationship about how you show up in the world, about how you regulate yourself, about the choices you make. All these things are for the purpose of waking you up. A lot of times now when I'm looking at the swords in the tarot, what I'm seeing is an opportunity for awakening, an opportunity for consciousness. Anytime we're experiencing something that is difficult, which you see a lot of in the sword suit, it is a chance for us to be able to say, hey, I can take back my power. When something is taken away from you, that contrast, that awareness that you have of like, I have this pain, I have this wound, is what makes you actively choose the healing. It is what makes you actively choose to grow as a person. And this is where you come into that hanged man energy, right? It's the deciding to look at things from a different point of view. Odin willingly chose to impale himself on the tree of life and that tree of Yggdrasil, and he lost that eye in order to gain the wisdom. You now, having had these painful experiences, but realizing that they actually teach you, and realizing the wisdom that comes from them, you've decided to do the work, to face the pain, to face the struggle, in order for you to delve into the mysteries of yourself and who you actually are as a person, and discover that wisdom, discover that power that is actually there in you. And then you can come into the Queen of Wands energy, the magic. She is the witch of the tarot. She's the magician of the court cards. You've been active, you've done the thing, and then you've made a choice to step back and suspend yourself. And now you see that this power that the universe has, this energy, has been there with you all along, and you allow it to flow through you. You become more receptive, at least more fluid, knowing that like life is going to move in certain ways, and you've learned to kind of move with it. All right. Next up, I have the Five of Swords, right? When we think of the Five of Swords, this is the win at all costs kind of, energy. And this is where I'm talking about when we have an opportunity, whenever a sword card comes up, to really kind of learn things about ourselves. So when we think about, like, say we got this Five of Swords, right? He's got these swords he's carrying. He's gotten these two swords he, took from defeating these two in combat, right? When we come up with this experience of this, like, win at all costs, if you can step back, if you can take a moment to, go into this hanged man energy, and you ask yourself, well, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel the need to take from others what is theirs? Why do I feel the need to win even when it hurts others? And then that's when you see there's this wound. Well, what is this wound? Well, this wound, maybe it could be that you wanted family. Maybe you wanted financial abundance. Maybe there was something in your life, this fullness that you feel is your birthright, that you didn't experience, right? Would you have had the conscious choice to cultivate this abundance for yourself, to develop the financial skills, to develop the relationship skills, if you had not experienced the difficulty? You would have probably just been going with the flow instead of awakening to the reality, so that way you can engage things more actively. So you realize, okay, if I'm trying to take this thing from life, if I feel left out, it's because I have something that I feel that is inherent to me that I didn't have. Anytime we're thinking of like the fives in the tarot, Five of Pentacles, the Five of Cups, it's this painful experience a lot of the times, right? You have, like, with the Five of Pentacles, you feel left out in the cult. You feel that whatever blessings that others don't have, you don't have. The Five of Swords is acting in some kind of a version of that. Whereas in the Five of Pentacles, maybe you have this depression where it's like, okay, I don't have this. In the Five of Swords, it's like, because I don't have this, I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to get it at others' expense. When you realize that the reason you act in certain ways is because you're trying to fulfill something within yourself that is actually beautiful, that is actually, that foundational state that you naturally come from, you reconnect with this Ace of Pentacles, this Eden type of energy, this garden, the beginning, right? You know that abundance is your birthright. You know that connection is your birthright, but you had to experience some sort of difficulties in order for you to think about these types of things, for you to come to this conscious realization that this is what you deserve, and that this is within yourself. The thing that you seek on the outside actually has its existence within you. You have the potential to create the reality, the abundance, the prosperity, the connections that you wanted, that maybe you felt pain and experienced betrayal or whatever in, so that way you could go, okay, I'm going to choose to create something better instead of choosing to just stay stuck in that pain. Healing isn't about pretending that we never had the experience. It's about who we grow into around that experience. Okay, and that's where justice comes in, right? Justice, she's got her scale, her sword. Your true justice doesn't come from the universe balancing things out as an external force. Maybe you can experience that to a certain point, but the real justice comes from realizing that you yourself have the power to create the change, to rebalance the scales by becoming the kind of person that, you know, can uphold the reality that you want for yourself. You know, I like to think of, like, say, well, it's not on the board, like the Three of Swords. You have the swords piercing the heart. You know, well, when you heal, part of the healing process is, you know, taking out those swords. Well, what happens when you take out, you know, a sword from that heart? You have a sword now. This sword is your, you know, like I said, you know, your ability to speak to yourself, how you choose to show up in the world, how you choose to think about things, right? Maybe somebody told you all these negative messages, and that's, you know, kind of created this negative self-esteem within you, and you realize these words, these thoughts, this, you know, air suit with the swords, that if you choose to think that I'm worthwhile, that I have the love that I want, that I have the prosperity that I want, that you actually can create your reality from that. That is the key to creating the empire that you want for yourself, right? There's this potential, that natural state, you know, that Garden of Eden energy that we came from, but that garden gets to expand into an entire empire. It gets to expand into you having more than just this, you know, initial fresh starting state. And, you know, you realize that everything you've been through has given you the tools, has given you the pinnacles, your practicality, the actions you can take, the cups, your emotional regulation and stability, the wands, your passions, your drives, the swords, your clarity, your focus, your thoughts. You have everything you need to create your reality. And that ability, when you take the actions, when you become the person who consciously chooses how you show up in the world, you become this King of Pentacles. He's surrounded by this vineyard and all the grapes, you know, his purple robe here, that smug, satisfied look on his face. You can make something beautiful for yourself, right? You grow this garden around you, but it's not just you're in the garden. You grew it. You made this reality for yourself. And then you have this stable foundation. The tower reversed, right? The tower upright would be saying that you built something for yourself on an unstable foundation, on something that doesn't last. But when you understand yourself and you're able to realize how you can take action, how you can show up in the world, and just, you know, be steady and practical at it, then you can build something for yourself that has a lasting foundation, because it comes from within you, instead of counting on things to just always be perfect or the outside world to show up and make the reality that you want for yourself. All right, friend, I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, I would love it if you would go ahead and leave a like for me on the video. Drop a comment for me that tells the algorithm that you want to continue to see my content. And you don't know what to put, you can put a sunflower emoji. That's a spirit guide of mine. That'll let me know you see me. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit that bell icon and click on all, because the algorithm these days does not guarantee you're going to see a video just because you're subscribed. Then head into my channel, find a video that resonates with you. If you don't, you can go to my community section. I've got a pin post where you can ask me a question and I'll make a reading for you. All right, friend, I'll see you in the next one.